come think about this democracy. 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 Crazy demo. Democracy. Demonstration of grace. Democracy. Crazy demonstration. Democracy. If it no be crazy. Democracy. Why for Africa? Democracy. As time they go, democracy. Things just they bad. Democracy. They bad more and more. Democracy. Poor man they cry. Democracy. Rich man they mess. Democracy. 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 Crazy demo. Democracy. Demonstration of grace. Democracy. Crazy demonstration. Democracy. If good do teacher teach you something and the student make mistake, teacher must talk the so but do even not.
My name is Aduo Ayodele. I'm a 400 level student of the University of Ibadan. What led to the incident of Monday, May 13? Before Monday, May 13, the University of Ibadan has been witnessing series of crises regarding student welfare. Part of the concern is that for the fees that students pay for on campus, there were hardly anything tangible to show for any of the fees. And significantly, before Monday, May 13, there were a series of inflated fees at the University of Ibadan, some of which were the introduction of laboratory fee, studio levy, and utility levy, increment in technology fee. And one very notable thing about some of these inflated fees are that they are fees, or they were fees that could be found in the school fees that students already paid for. And I'm saying that before Monday, May 13, we had a situation at the University of Ibadan where students' concern was already at a painstaking point. To mean that students were paying inflated fees, duplicated fees, and fees that could not be explained as a matter of concern. And so the incident of Monday, May 13, however, was such an incident where the students' union inauguration was to be held. And at the instance of that occasion, particularly the moment when the student union president was called to deliver his inaugural speech, myself and my colleagues, who have ever since been victimized, stepped out holding a placard, what some people call cardboard. And what was written on the cardboard was fee must fall. The ultimate message of that cardboard was fee must fall, hashtag fee must fall, something very harmless. And at the tail end of the speech of the president, the university security team dragged myself and my colleagues forcefully out of the venue. We were physically assaulted, and eventually we were handed over to operatives of the Nigerian Army, the Operation Boss Nigerian Army. And we were eventually released on that day after a troop of lawyers came around to bail us out. Yeah, so ever since that very incident, the university management has subjected us to what seems to be an endless disciplinary proceedings. We were invited to a panel on July 2 last year, and it was called a fact-finding committee panel of the university management. And the purpose of such was to gather facts according to the tag of that committee. It was not until June this year, 2025, exactly or almost a year after, that we got a separate invitation again to appear before an investigative committee that will be asking us questions. And at that second panel, we were asked exactly the questions that we answered. in July last year. My assumption is that the facts, quote and unquote, that they got from the last year panel were misplaced by those who had that duty, because the questions we were asked, or I was particularly asked, was the question I was asked last year, the same questions. And the questions were, in all honesty, they were headless questions. Questions saying that, do you know that, uh, where your right ends, another person's right begins from there? And I could not get an answer about whose person's right was violated by my peaceful action of holding a placard with an inscription "Fee must fall" in the face of imminent school fees increment. At the University of Ibadan, as a matter of concern, or to state the fact right, school fees was increased from relatively 20,000 naira to as high as 200,000, and in some departments to as high as 300,000 naira, from relatively 20,000 naira. And so we had genuine concerns. And so that seems to be what have happened. The last year incident, I should also mention for historical sake, that before Monday, May 13, myself and my colleagues and a good number of other students on campus have been vocal about different issues of concerns on campus, even away from fee increment. I mean, at the University of Ibadan, if you look at the student community, we have a university that is the first and best, but however characterized by inadequacies of water, inadequacies of electricity, inadequacy of staff, and even the question of are we getting quality education on campus have remained enduring concerns on campus. And so before now there have been agitations, and I should just state that clearly. And so, well, after the incident, we have been subjected to several untold kinds of intimidations, some of which include stereotyping, to mean that for even events here and there on campus, whenever we go around, you begin to see the university security, called the CSS, Campus Security Service, codenamed the Abefele in UI. You begin to see them, wherever we move to on campus, you begin to see them around asking us heedless questions about why are we attending an event that is, our concern, an event we have a right to attend to, different events that are not even school fees related or anything close to that. And so there have been that kind of victimization, coupled with the psychological trauma of knowing that for no reason we have a different set of people on campus who have left their primary duties to teaching or lecturing or doing research, to wanting to victimize students who have committed no known crime. And so, yeah, that has been the situation thus far. Well, in terms of how the university management has responded to this matter, there is no doubt about the fact that the university administration, without exception, and I say that also respectfully, that they have left the primary reasons why most of them are employed to pursuing an empty case like ours. And so, in terms of what the university response has been on this issue, I can say, from all indications, from the fact that I got a letter of invitation to the Central SDC yesterday, I can say from all indication that the management of the University of Ibadan, led by the VC, Professor Kaide Adeboale, has not done so well to rethink their high-handedness on this particular case, because there's nothing to pursue. Students raised placard in the face of imminent increment. I mean, like I said earlier, you increase school fees from, say, 20,000 naira to as high as 150, 200, and more, depending on department and faculties. And you do not expect students to, show concern. It is wrong. And so, In summary, they have not shown regard for student rights, for our right as students, and they have not shown regard for the vision, for the very essence for which this university was founded. I do not think that the federal government has continued to keep this school in existence so that people can continue to perpetuate the intimidation and victimization of peaceful and democratic students within their rights. First, we are assured, and I'm particularly assured that no matter how short or long the journey of this victimization is, we are quite certain and solidly certain that there is victory, or let me say victory is certain. History and posterity would always come for those who are justified in their action. It is glaring that the management is uh, making all attempts to take punitive actions on us for committing no known crime, just like I have said. And for one, I must say that we are quite sure that we're on the side of victory. Yes, I should also mention that the impact of this has been that we are assured of the fact that the struggle at the University of Ibadan is connected to the struggle of the Nigerian people at large. Nigerian people want a situation where their rights and justice prevail. And we believe that there's an intersection between our case and that. And that is, first of all, reassuring. In other rounds, the impact, yes, well, it has not been an easy journey. We have people who, think quite short-sightedly that we should so much respect the university to a point where our rights can be trampled upon, and then we keep short even at that. But overly, I can confidently say that the conviction that we are on the right path has been quite soothing and reassuring. In terms of changes, if there is something that should change at the University of Ibadan, it's a number of things. First is that there is a need for the university management led by Professor Kayode Adebowale and the entire management team and even the governing council to caution themselves and have a strong rethink on the current issue of victimization of UI3. Myself, Nice Linus, and Midegbade Geshin, and even other students that they are victimizing in styles. That is one. Two, what needs to also change is the fact that the University of Ibadan is not a poetry, it's an academic institution. And there's what we call academic freedom, the right for scholars and students more so to think and be able to talk, the right to have an opinion and be able to express themselves. If this right is being gauged, if this right is being trampled upon, what it means is that the essence of the University of Ibadan, to be precise, is being ripped. The vision of the University of Ibadan is being ripped, and such a situation has to stop. And so if there's anything we are calling for to state that clearly, it is that we want an end to the victimization of students, particularly students who are raising concern about issues affecting them on campus. No student should be silenced, no student should be victimized, no student should be expelled, no student should be suspended simply because they are saying that the situation of things on campus is unbearable. And that is that. If there's any other thing we are calling for also, it is to enjoin the staff unions on campus and across the country, the workers' unions within the campus and across the country, and enjoin the Nigerian people. Again, I must state that if you see lecturers and non-academic staff still coming to work, it is because of the Nigerian people still paying their salary. I'm saying that the University of Ibadan is funded by the sweat of pepper sellers, meat sellers, and different kind of people here and there who the government is collecting indirect and direct taxes from. And so I do not think that the Nigerian people want a situation where what our scholars, quote and unquote, will be using their sweat for will be to be punishing their children who are letting their thoughts out on campus. And so if there's anything that should happen now as a matter of change, there's a need for the mass of Nigerian people to draw the ears of the university management and call them to order. Our situation or our case is evident of the fact that the management and everyone prosecuting us is venturing into a bush. And so we need the Nigerian people to call them to order as a matter of concern. There's also the need for the federal government to take charge of this case. We want the federal government to particularly call the vice chancellor and the governing council to order, and even every other kind of person who have been involved in the prosecution of this empty case. And the entire student community at large, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, and every other student movement should come back to the rescue of UI3 on the basis that nobody should be punished for saying that increasing school fees from 20,000 to 200,000 and more is too much. And on that very basis, there's a need for a mass advocacy on this case.
Think about this democracy.
My name is Nice Linus. I'm a 400 level student of the Faculty of Law, University of Ibadan. What happened on May 13, 2024 was that myself and two other students protested during the inauguration of our own student union leadership at Trenchard Hall, University of Ibadan. So, honestly, the impact of that protest, the ordeal we've gone through in the last 1 year, what we hope to achieve with it, what we hope the masses and well-meaning Nigerians, what response we hope they can give. It's kind of like a broad conversation. Starting with what led up to the protest. The protest happened because we saw that university education was being priced out of the reach of the poor masses. And the fact remains that education is the cheapest of commodities that the government can give the citizen. In the absence of if Owepo is high, the fact that we don't have enough to eat, the fact that the roads are bad, in the absence of all of that, the least the common man needs is education, and that actually makes it easier for the poor to become something. Imagine a situation where if our former president once walked without shoes, once went to school without shoes, and it's saddening that such might never occur if the scheme to take education away from the reach of the poor is allowed to come into fruition. So if we just allow them to do it like that. And so being in the University of Ibadan and coming here simply because fees are cheap, because this university is a federal institution, seeing that reality was about to change, that there was an increment from 20,000 naira, 30,000 to as high as 400,000. It was damning. It was really sad. And so the least we could do was just show our dissent. The fact that we know that this is affecting us, but we recognize that it will be more than, it will be beyond us at some point. It will be not just us, it will be millions of students who won't be able to access the first and best university. Millions and millions of poor students like ourselves won't be able to access education anymore. And in a bid to protect education, to protect the value of education, quality of education, the fact that it has to be free, the fact that it is not supposed to be a privilege, it's supposed to be a right. We, on May 13, 2024, raised placards protesting in Trenchard Hall, and the response was terrible. We got dragged out, we got beaten, and eventually we got handed over to the Nigerian army, where we spent quality time with the army before we got released, due to the intervention of lawyers and well-meaning persons. And as though that was not enough, we found out on June No, that was, I think it was not July. So we found out a few weeks later that the university authorities, despite having us beaten and having us handed over to the army, were not willing to let go of this matter. They still went ahead to submit a plea for query. They told us we were being alleged of gross misconduct, insubordination, a lot of colorful terms that um, if you really won't get a dictionary and check, you'd actually assume something serious. And so ever since then, ever since May 13, 2024, we've gone through shades of victimization, from the not ending panels, panels and panels, to security men tailing us. It was so bad. At some points, we couldn't even sit down together in the university. We couldn't walk 10 steps without finding that the university security panels were on our tail. And there were times we'd sit and then they'll come to meet us to tell us that we had to leave here because I don't know, they were scared of something that was unknown to reason. And then some other times they would stop us from attending certain events on the basis that, oh, we were probably on a list, that on a list of persons that they didn't want to see around or something. And then that's without talking about them academic, should I say, victimizations we've experienced in the classroom, shades of victimization in the classroom from lecturers, response from some fellow students, and a lot more, the psychological impact, and a lot more of that. So that's been the journey. To put it to a summary, concerning the university management's response to public concerns, it is quite shocking, the response they've given, both verbally and by their conduct. I may say, the fact remains that what we are going through is as a result of the university management's high-handedness, as a result of the fact that despite public members of the public complaining, speaking up about this issue ever since July, to you know encouraging the management to not actually take the issue further, to die the idea of victimizing students for dissenting. The management has refused, and we found this year that they are still very much interested in having us sent out of school for simply raising placards on May 13 to advocate that the common man be given the right to live, be given something that can change his life, the list of things that wouldn't cost much. And so, how this has affected me, knowing that these are the guys, these are the people that many of us look up to, is that I fear greatly for the future of the academia. I fear greatly for the future of every student. The fact that we are in an environment where what is being done different from what is being taught. The lecturers teach you A as a law student. They teach you that under the Nigerian constitution, every citizen is guaranteed several rights. And in actual practice, it's different. They violate those rights that they told you are guaranteed under the constitution. Then later they come back to lament about how bad the Nigerian system is, whereas they are part of those who are making the system as bad as it is. And that's what it has been for me, essentially. Because the impact this ordeal has had on me personally, my education, my well-being, and my sense of justice as a student is, first, that um, I feel the need to revolutionize the education system, to make things a lot more about humanity than it is about just getting marks and bagging a first class and moving ahead. Despite the fact that as a poor man, you might not use your first class for anything. Your first class might as well work on somebody's decks simply because you don't have enough connections, to push you forward, or you don't have anything else aside from your intellect to offer. Basically, it's dawning on me that the intellect of every person, so far as you are poor, is being disregarded at this point. your humanity, basic humanity, is being disregarded. Because where you live in a system, you live in a system where your rights mean nothing to the authorities, and when you speak up, your thoughts mean nothing, your opinion mean nothing. Your self-esteem would drop drastically. You begin to feel that that there's nothing good about you, that you don't need to say anything about any situation, that you don't need to make attempts to change the system, that you just need the system to be as it is and try to survive. So this education system teaches us how to survive, and as a student, I am desperately seeking to break free from this system of survival, the way it is fashioned. I do not just want to survive as a human being. I want to live, and that's what education is for me. Education should be a chance to breathe. So the impact that this situation has had on me, this audio has had on me, is that it has hardened my resolve to truly get quality education. And the impact it has had on my sense of justice, especially as a budding lawyer, is that I see the rots and I see those who are enabling the system. I see why the Nigerian justice legal education system cannot produce good lawyers, because the system itself is rotten. So it's bad to have a battery. It's hard to have a battery produce good fruits, essentially. And I see where the problem is now, and I see the need to fix the problem. Because I know that if the problem is not fixed, many things would happen. There'll be terrible consequences. So as regarding justice, this system, this entire ordeal has made me more resolved to pursue the cause of justice, because I see that it is needed for everybody, for all of us to breathe, for all of us to live, for our sanities to remain intact. We actually need justice. We actually need the justice system to be fine. And we need every lawyer to go through the right training, every doctor to not be subjected to having to carry out their dissections and their practicals using torchlights. And we don't want our engineers to be in a lab and be told to imagine they are doing this and they are doing that. We don't want to produce those kind of students anymore. We don't want to produce those kind of professionals. We don't want to produce students that know nothing to do with their certificates. We want to produce students who get into the university and live worse than they came in, who were confident, buoyant when they were coming in, called freshers, full of fresh air, and then by the time they are leaving, they're just tired of life. They're just disillusioned. They don't even know what to do. They're just trying to figure out life, and they never figure out life. No, we want people who can really change things. So as bad as this audio has been, as draining as the experience has actually been for me over the last 1 year, I still see that there is a need to change things. That's the biggest emphasis I've had that this audio has made in my life. On this note, we call on members of the public, we call on members of the university, students, staff, even the university management themselves, for the university management to have some pity on the common man and do the things that are right. And then for every other well-meaning Nigerian, we need to spotlight this case. We need to pay more attention to this case, not because of the 3 persons involved, but because of the fact that this case is about education, about the common man, about how to make life easier for all of us. So we call on everybody, every well-meaning Nigerian, both in Nigeria and abroad, to speak up as regards this case, to save the education system from falling apart.
Wonderful Lumenti. Wonder.
My name is Badiga Sholamide Iyanoluwa. I'm a 700 level student of the Institute of African Studies, University of Ibadan. All right, so I would not need to go through the backdrop of the victimization. I think that is well settled. I'm currently being victimized because of my participation in a protest on the 13th of May 2024 at the swearing in of the newly elected executive at Trenchard, and it has been a whole circle of trauma and psychological torture. So the first attempt at the victimization was afterwards when we protested, where were rounded up by the security personnel. The first attempt at victimization was on that day, the day of the protest, where I was myself alongside others were rounded up and were forcefully dragged out of the hall, and we were beaten by the security personnel and also handed over to the army, the Nigerian army. After what followed afterwards was a long process of victimization. First, not too long, perhaps a week afterwards, I was given a query to answer by university management, a query that alleged me of misconduct, gross misconduct, and an attempt to disrupt the ceremony, which was not so. I answered that affirming my right to protest and also the fact that I protested in the most peaceful manner. After the response, I was invited to appear before a disciplinary committee panel. Um, that should be July 2nd. That was the first invitation, July 2nd, 2024. And like I said, it was, as expected, an attempt to not just victimize, but also to criminalize that the action of dissent, which is should not be is not unbecoming of a student. I mean, a student should be allowed to engage critically and also should be able to voice out any form or any sense of dissent he might have. So I was questioned on my action, and I was told that whatever I did was not right and was criminal. Afterwards, I was fast forward to 2025. It's also important to note that there was no silence. It was not like there was silence. We've always had moments of victimization, moments of threatening, moments of intimidation from security personnel, and all of that. So fast forward to 2025, I was invited. I was June 2025 to be questioned again. However, the letter stating the letter given to me to appear before the disciplinary committee was very elusive. It didn't carry any charge. It was just said I should appear to answer allegation levied against me. They didn't specify what kind of allegation. So on the ground that the letter was elusive, and also on the ground that it was impromptu, I wrote back that the allegation levied should be specific because I can't go there to defend what I'm not aware of. So I also told them to give me time to be able to prepare to defend myself adequately. So I was invited the third time to appear before a disciplinary committee, which was scheduled on June 30, 2025. And it was the same episode. I mean, the same questions, which begs the question why I needed to appear before that panel if they were not going to ask any different question. So the experience was not surprising. It was intimidating. It was, I mean, you had about 10 to 15 people staring at you, asking you questions on the on why you did this when you're, I mean, trying to interrogate what does not need to be interrogated. You have to stand before a panel. You are not allowed to sit down. I mean, you're wearing your matriculation gown. So it was not. I mean, it's not good for the ment. I mean, it's not something that any person should be subjected. And obviously, it was a biased panel because there are no student representative. There are no evidences to be. I mean, you don't have the chance to bring forth any evidence to support your cause. Um, and not giving. I mean, it's just a well calculated and tense environment. And the same questions were asked in a more intimidating manner. And afterwards, for the fourth time. I was invited 2 days ago, perhaps yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, to appear before a disciplinary committee scheduled next week on Monday. That's July 14, July 14, 2025. And that's going to be the central the student disciplinary committee. All these things will not make sense if the root cause is not addressed, and that's the issue of famous for. So this is a platform to say that we are asking that everybody join us in the campaign for a free and affordable education. Also, we're also clamoring for the freedom of speech. I mean, it doesn't make sense that we are being victimized for speaking our mind, and in no society should that be contained or even allowed. So we are saying that our universities should be spaces for multiplicity of ideas, multiplicity of voices, and no idea, no voice, no ideology should be criminalized. That's what I'm praying for.
Wonderful Lumenti. Wonder, wonder, wonder. Wonderful Lumenti. Oh! I remember how my brother, Professor